K97.5, this is Chris, and it's 10:20, yes, 20 after the hour, and we got some Metallica coming up for you, some Metallica Enter Sandman. I just want to do that all the time.
Sounds good.
Hey guys, it's Chris. I'm back with James from Daily Sports Trivia, and this is going to be this week's Q&A for Episode 7, The Broken Man, and I'm sure a lot of speculation for Episode 8 and beyond, so spoiler warning.
Right into things here, and this question is from Takoa.
Oh Lord.
You know Takoa?
I know Takoa.
Okay. Takoa says, Q&A, do you think that the killers of the Hounds group are actually members of the Brotherhood, or do you think that they are bandits pretending to be the Brotherhood?
No, he's recently been added to Bacall's Views with his new gaming channel. So,
oh, this is oh yeah, I saw
that's
your video.
That's Big Jade in there. So what's up, man? Anyway,
I like the video.
I think it probably will be. I mean, I don't really know. In the books, these guys are not cold-blooded murderers, and it could be another group, and maybe there's a splinter group or something like that. You know, you had the Septon hanged, and this is going to be a common question, I'm sure, as we get into this, is Lady Stoneheart. So I think with the Septon being hanged, I think it was probably an Easter egg or a shout out to her, but I don't see her coming to the show. Apparently that was Lemoncloak, though, on the horse there that came up to the Septon and the group.
Is a member of the Brotherhood?
Yeah, in the books he is a member of the Brotherhood, and it does change a little bit in the books. When Lady Stoneheart takes over, they do get vengeance and stuff like that on people associated with the Red Wedding phrase. Anybody that knew anything about it, they do hang everybody in that sense, but they don't go around and just take out villages for no reason. So I don't really know, honestly. It seems like they implied it was the Brotherhood, and
right.
We're supposed to see them again apparently, and even apparently Thoros of Myr. But he actually left the Brotherhood in the books as well because he didn't like that they were all about revenge once Lady Stoneheart took over, but when Beric was part of it, they were all about justice. So he actually left the group. So it seems like they're going to be just murderers because now the Hound's going after him. He knew exactly who they were. It's been speculated for the last 3 or 4 years that she'd show up since, Catelyn died. But yeah, she died in season 3, right? So in the book, she was found 3 days later. They threw her body in a river, and Beric gave her the kiss of life and revived her, and she took over the Brotherhood since Beric had to give his life for hers, death pays for life thing. So I don't see that happening only because of the time, and apparently they've now said that there's only going to be 13 episodes after season 6 remaining, total. So in other words, season 7 is going to be probably 6 or 7 episodes. They're going to split it in half. I just don't see them introducing too many more new storylines to wrap up. So
wow.
Anyway,
so if that's the case, then all these episodes are going to be kick ass because they got a lot of shit to do.
Well, they need to be, but the odd thing is, with that being said, as far as the remaining episodes, they're all short this year. All of them are like 45 minutes or 40 minutes, and it's supposed to be. The last couple are supposed to be over an hour, at least the episode 10, from my understanding, well over an hour, and the longest one they've ever done. But it makes no sense for to have all these short episodes with 10 or 15 minutes missing, but yet they're going to skip, making entire episodes the next couple seasons. So we'll see.
Next question. Chad King says, Q&A. What's up, brother? I love your channel, and go Panthers. This is for your Q&A. Why do you think that Benjen told Bran to drink the rabbit's blood? Is it a nature thing because of the weirwood?
It's kind of another nod to the books, I think. In the books, Bran, when he's learning to, have these visions and what have you, they give him a bowl of paste that looks like a bloody paste. It was after Jojen kind of disappeared, so we don't know if Jojen's actually died in the books, but people call this Jojen paste.
Oh, okay.
Because they tell Bran that blood helps him awaken his abilities faster. So I think it was more of a kind of a nod to the books and perhaps the Jojen paste thing.
That sounds like it.
And if you notice, remember in Bloodraven's cave, you have bones everywhere, human bones and giant bones and animals of all kinds. So it's implied that blood feeds these trees, these weirwood trees. That's implied in several other chapters. I'd mentioned the Brienne chapter last week, where she killed a couple guys, and it specifically said under a weirwood tree, and there was no other reason to put that in there if it didn't have something to do with how these trees work. So I think it was just a shout out to that, and perhaps that's what's going to help kick him into overdrive because he said he wasn't ready to become the Three-Eyed Crow. So
I think you're all over it. It sounds right. It sounds logical.
We'll see.
Next question. Jason Pusey says, question for your Q&A. The Hound is pissed. Do you think Arya will run into Theon and Asha and that they will save her and help her get to Westeros? Also, what the fuck? 62 men from House Mormont?
Right, yeah, that seems a little low. They're making this severely one-sided here with the Northern Army. It's basically the size of Stannis' army now, who marched down to Winterfell with no horses, although they'll have a few horses, I'm assuming, from some of these northern houses, and Stannis got slaughtered. So they're making this one-sided on purpose because I think the Vale is going to show up at just the right time. That was the letter that Sansa wrote to Littlefinger, I believe. I think they're setting Arya up to get help from somebody. I don't know, that could be Theon and Asha, but they stopped off in Valanis, so I don't see them going to Bravos because that's the opposite direction.
And she needs help fast.
Right, and they're not there. They're not even close. I mean, they do have magical Star Trek teleporters, but that would be the wrong direction if they're headed to Slaver's Bay.
Okay.
So I do see her getting some help. I'm been thinking it may be like a Red Priest somehow to tie into the whole, Red God Azor Ahai stuff or something like that, because in the books I had mentioned last week there's a character called Makoro who heals Victarion's hand, and it looks all burnt and shit, but he heals him and saves his life.
Yes, since we're already on it, and there's just a million questions, guys, about Arya, and is it, is she the waif? Is this
split personalities, Fight Club style?
A lot of questions, so I didn't pick any of those. But I did, once we get her name up here, may as well throw it out there what you're thinking about that.
Yeah, I went back and watched that scene again. I didn't see anything that really indicated that it wasn't her. I tried to look at, she was in different clothes. I can see her, possibly trying to set the waif up in some way, or even Jaqen having a test for the waif like we had said last week. I do think that's a part of it. I think he knows she's a jealous asshole, and I think that, there's definitely something to the whole testing the waif thing too, because if you're no one, you shouldn't care about, the next, the next faceless assassin, right? Or have personal feelings against her, this vendetta she has. So
some people were saying it was Jaqen, right? That Arya was Jaqen.
Some people were saying that they believe it's Jaqen because he owed her a life from a previous season, and he doesn't, because she saved him and Biter and Rorg were going to the Wall. They were in the King's Landing dungeons, and she saves them from fire essentially by letting them out of the cage that they were in. When they got to Harrenhal, Jaqen said, "Hey, I owe you 3 lives," but she named off 2 people and then named Jaqen as the 3rd, and he said, "A man cannot kill himself. Please unname me." So she did, but then she said, "I want to get the hell up out of here. I need you to kill the guards." And he said, "That's more than 1," but he ended up doing it anyway. So he did pay her actually 4 or 5 lives, or however many it was, because he killed 2 or 3 guards for them to escape that night. So he don't owe her a life as far as that whole thing goes with the 3 that happened in an earlier season. So I just don't see Jaqen taking a knife for her. There's no reason for that, even if it is a test for the waif. I just don't see that. Why would he take a knife for her and then roll off, and then they show her getting out of the canal?
That's the point you brought up to me that I thought.
Yeah, because if you would think that if it was going to be some big twist, which I'm not saying there's not going to be a twist, but if you would think if it was going to be a twist, as in that was not Arya getting stabbed because she
fallen in the water, and that would have been
it. Should have been a cliffhanger.
Right.
It should have immediately went over to the Hound and finished that piece up, and we should have seen her getting out of the water, holding her stomach and bleeding out through the streets and being all scared of every face she saw.
Yeah.
That to me is what made me think it was actually her.
But you do agree that prior to getting stabbed, she wasn't acting like herself?
It was odd. Because we had just saw her in the previous episode, blowing out the candle. She had needles. She had different clothes on. She had the clothes on like when she was selling oysters, clams, and cockles, right?
Yeah, she was.
And she changed clothes. Actually, she kind of looked like Ned from season 1 with the little leather. It was just not leather. It was just a claw thing, but looked almost like his northern vest. So she changed clothes. She's kind of strutting around with her hands behind her back, which was odd. And so it was definitely something odd about it. People would point out that she had been left-handed in every episode, but she threw the money to the sailor with her right hand. I don't really think that means anything. I mean, she wasn't sword fighting, so it just happened to be what she used. But it was odd that she's strutting around out in public like that with no needle or nothing. But then again, in the books, people don't carry swords around in Braavos like that unless you plan to fight. So I don't know. I can see it as some kind of setup, but I just don't see how that's working with her actually getting stabbed. If that was a setup, it didn't work. We do see her in the next episode as far as the teaser. We know she's going to do this parkour stuff, basically free running as they have their big fight. But I think the Waif thinks she's dead. She looked pretty satisfied to me. She looked over and saw the blood in the water and all that, and she was like, pulling her shirt down like I did it and made her suffer, felt all proud of herself. But then we know she looks surprised in the next episode from the screenshots, like, oh shit, she's alive, like she sees Arya or whatever. And we see her hand get dragged across the wall in the trailer. I just got a feeling it's setting up for her to get help from somebody quickly. And it's got to happen fast, right? Or she's running out of time. She's bleeding out. I mean, that was a 6-inch knife.
Here's the weird thing for me. All right, if it was her and she really did get stabbed and she does get help, it's got to be magical. Otherwise, she can't be jumping and all that stuff.
Right. I mean, that's the idea. She's got these abdominal wounds and she's bleeding out, and you can't do parkour when you're. It's not a Band-Aid. So it's not going to work.
Your theory about her meeting the Red Priest or whatever and using some kind of magic.
I think it's either that. I saw some other commenters that I'd mentioned as well. Possibly her even going back to the House of Black and White and drinking the magic Kool-Aid.
Okay.
Which is where they, when somebody comes to die, it acts as a poison. It didn't affect Arya, it gave her sight back, the same water from the same little trough.
Shit.
So perhaps she goes back and Jaqen helps her before going back out to find the Waif.
I'm going to bet money on that theory.
So she could just drink the magic Kool-Aid and heal right up, and Jaqen's on kind of her side, and the Waif, Jaqen will realize the way she stabbed her wasn't, a quick death would have been cutting her throat.
Yeah,
because
he told her that. That's
right. Don't let her suffer.
Yeah.
So he'll realize, what? She wanted her to suffer. She's failed. So he'll in turn help her. Here, drink this, child, and go do your duty. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's just a possibility.
Okay. Next question from Monotom. Q&A. If Sansa's letter really was to Lord Creepy Pervert, do you think he will truly come through for them? And if so, how horrible would his repayment be? He does nothing without figuring out his take in it and how he can manipulate every situation and everyone.
Yeah, I think he will come through for her. He does kind of love her in a weird, creepy way, like he did her mother. But at the same time, he wants the North too. He wants everything, like he said before, I think. I mean, we don't really know his full end game yet. He obviously is oblivious to the real threat. He's still trying to acquire power like he always has. So he needs her for the North in his eyes. So I think he'll come through, but that is his end game, I'm sure, to take something from her.
Oh yeah.
Or rule through her somehow, right? So I think he'll end up probably trying to either marry her himself or have somebody that he's controlling marry her, so he's essentially the Lord through the Lord or something to that effect, just like he did everywhere else. So yeah, he's in it for power, because he's gonna fuck him, he ain't gonna kill him.
Good point. Oh, let's see. Isuba Stiva.
There you go.
What up, Chris? Q&A.
What's up?
Do you think the show is setting up the Mountain to become a hero, seeing as he saved both Stark girls? Not saying Clegane Bowl, I just don't see how he can progress to fighting his brother this late in the season.
Oh, he means the Hound becoming a hero, I assume. Yeah, because
I believe that's what he means too.
Yeah, it has to be. So yeah, the Hound helped Arya out and helped. They ended up becoming pretty good friends actually before she went over to Braavos. And he helped Sansa by rescuing her for some rapists during a thing that went down at King's Landing, and then offered to take her with him when he left King's Landing because he said "fuck the king." So that was some of the best stuff in the show with him and Arya, though.
It looks like he's being set up to become a hero.
Yeah. His arc has been really cool because you start off and he's this violent guy. He's not really an evil character, but he don't give a shit. He just follows orders. He's basically, just like his name implies, the Hound. He is Joffrey's dog. he rode down the butcher's boy, and that was the whole thing in season 1 with Ned saying, "You rode down the butcher's boy," and it's like he ran, but not fast enough. You know?
Yes.
So he's kind of an asshole, but he has this great redemption arc. You know, he realizes, you know, that he's fueled by hate of his brother from the whole story about how he got burnt in the first place. And I would be fine with, at least in the books, where he's on this quiet isle, with him just staying there and living out a peaceful life. Now, we just got to that point in the show, a little bit different version of it, basically the same thing, and they come and slaughter this, you know, this innocent group of villagers or what have you. And the whole point of this is he's trying his best to escape this world of violence and whatever, and he can't. He just can't fucking do it. He can't get away from it.
He thought he was getting ready to.
He thought he was going to live his days out and help this group of people and become a normal kind of guy and wash all his sins away and whatever, and he just couldn't escape it. But they didn't go out of their way either in the show to make him such a pacifist that he doesn't realize self-defense and stuff like that too. So I do think he's in a hero in a way, or maybe an anti-hero, because again, it depends on your perspective. He's going to now go slaughter the Brotherhood, apparently, or whoever this ends up being. Is that justice? Is it vengeance? So he's still riding that line, I think. But yeah, overall, I think it's a great arc.
I do too.
And like I said, I'm as far as Cocaine Ball, I know that was mentioned as well. I would love to see that in a way, but I don't know how they can get there from this point in the show. He's not far from King's Landing, but he's got to get back to King's Landing, and pretty damn quick if this trial is going to even happen with Cersei. And Cersei's got the mountain, which is now Franken Mountain, Sir Robert Strong. He's even stronger, I believe, than he was before. And he's lame. Obviously, he can still carry a damn tree, though, so he's not too bad off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't see how in the show they're going to get him even knowing about what's going on in King's Landing. And if the High Sparrow would name him as a champion of the faith, first of all, he didn't really look too religious to me, even in being a pacifist with this little group. He didn't seem to really follow any gods. He never has. So will he take up that? I'm sure he would, just to kill his brother, but how does the High Sparrow know about the Hound? So I'm still not 100% on Clegane Bowl. I would love to see it, obviously. The Mountain deserves everything he's got coming to him, because he was a horrible person before he was reanimated.
I can't wait to see.
So I hope they can tie that in some way. I mean, that's the biggest hype train there is almost in Game of Thrones. I mean, you see all the hype jokes about it. But right now, I just don't see how they get from there. I mean, they can. I'm sure they have, and they still have plenty of time to do it. But how do they get from him going to get revenge on the Brotherhood down in the Riverlands,
and then doing that,
and then getting up to King's Landing somehow or another, and the High Sparrow finding out about him and who he is, and naming him as his champion? So that's the only reservations I have about it. But I love to see it.
And so that's like the episode I saw in season 1 with Tyrion naming somebody their champion to fight at a trial.
And right, so she's going to choose a trial by combat. The Mountain's going to face off, and the Faith has to name a champion. A lot of people say that could be Tommen, like he's going to make Tommen the champion of the Faith. That would be a cool twist, because it would be essentially Cersei against her son. But Tommen's not a warrior, and the High Sparrow needs him to rule through him, basically, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't see that really happening, although it would be a cool twist, so it could. There's also another type of trial that comes up, and I don't think we'll see it in the show, that comes up in the books, and that is a trial of 7, which is 7-on-7 type of fight thing. So that can happen too, but I don't think we'll go that route in the books, or in the show at least.
Next question. Miss K. Boyd.
Is that Corin? Yeah, that's Corin.
She said,
fresh and fly.
Is it even possible for a man to get a Phantom Woody?
What you asking me for?
Because you mentioned him getting a Phantom Woody.
I just know Phantom Pains, right, from Lost Limbs.
I actually answered this question on the comment section, and I said, why not? You know,
I mean, I'll put it this way.
It's another appendage.
I'll put it this way, Corin. In my own family, I had somebody lose a leg. And I know that he went through several months and months and months, actually, quite a long time, of phantom pains in his leg. And that's what made me think of it, actually.
And Wayne has phantom itching on his
toes.
We
have a buddy that lost a foot to a disease, and he has that issue too. So that's what made me think of it initially. But yeah,
that's
I've never met a eunuch.
That's funny.
So that was horrible, though. Yara took him to a brothel?
Oh, no.
Come on.
I know, rubbing it right in his face. All right, here we go. Next question. Caitlin Lewis. Do you think if Rickon still lives from the Battle of the North, Jon and Sansa will arrange a marriage between Lyanna Mormont and Rickon Stark?
Oh, that would be really cool. I read that comment. I think that's possible, but I just don't see Rickon making it. I just don't see him. Yeah, I just think with the story arc that Sansa has, being this potential queen of the North, Rickon's in the way. He's the male, and Bran's assumed dead. Although Bran right now is still actually the candidate for Lord of Winterfell because he's the oldest son. But they assume him dead or what have you, so Bran's kind of in the way for Sansa to become Lady Stark. So I just don't see Rickon surviving, unfortunately. We're going to have to lose one more Stark before this is over, at least, I think.
I think you'll like this one because they use something that you say.
Uh-oh.
All right, let's see. Cliffit says, Q&A, if the Faceless Men are the best assassins in the known world, why is it that they seem to botch every assignment? Arya has failed twice to kill her targets. The haircut failed to kill Arya, and even somehow thought that a dagger to the gut was a lethal blow. Come on. How is it possible? Are we missing something? Maybe the waif is also in training.
Right. Well, Jaqen never failed. He was a true Faceless Man. So, these are girls in training or assassins in training or whatever. And in that world, those blows to the gut are deadly. They're lethal. I'm sorry. There's no Band-Aid. There's no quick clot. There's none of that shit. She can run to a quick care center there and go to the hospital.
And if you don't die right away, a lot of infection gets you.
Just like the Civil War in real life. Most people died from infections and losing limbs, not from actual being shot. So, yeah, you got to think of it that way. They are trainees, and Arya never passed anything because she was never no one. She couldn't let go of being Arya Stark and her kill list and all the stuff that happened to her family, which is why they sent her to kill somebody at the play anyway, because she had to relive her dad getting killed and all that stuff, and then she got to see some events she missed while she was already in Bravos. That was the test in itself. So,
alrighty, let's see here. Muelwa Hada. Sorry. Q&A, where is Howland Reed?
So he is still alive. He's supposed to be at Greywater Watch, which is his castle in the Neck. And as a matter of fact, it was said, other than seeing him now in the flashback when he was younger and saved Ned from Sir Arthur Dayne, he's supposed to be there, and he sent Jojen and Mira over to swear fealty to Robb when the War of the Five Kings broke out. So he is still alive. He's the only one that can vouch for Jon's parentage, RLJ, assuming that is revealed. So George R. R. Martin has said that he will show up in the books. I think he's got to show up in the show because if Bran just tells Jon, hey, I saw the past, by the way, you're a Targaryen, and your mother was Lyanna, who's going to believe it? It's got to be vouched for by somebody who was there, and he's the only one left. So he's got to show up in some way. Now, if the show makes it happen, we just don't know if the show's going to make it happen. We do know that he will appear in the books, as far as what George R. R. Martin has said. So I would think he would.
Cousin Bailey says, Q&A. You think the riders from the Vale are going to show up like that dead army in Return of the King and just wreck shop, saving the day, or will they make their presence known before the fight? Also, why is Sansa keeping all that secret from Jon?
Yeah, I'm still a little baffled as to why she's keeping it secret. I think she don't fully trust everybody yet, and especially in that room when that question was asked, it seemed like she was just lying straight out to Jon, and she obviously is keeping that from him. So I don't know if she fully trusts everybody yet, and she's learned that from Littlefinger. So that's just part of her learning the game, I think, but I do think the Army of the Vale will ride up at the last minute. So I think it will be something to the effect of they're getting their asses whipped pretty good, because they are going down with a very, very small army in comparison to Ramsay and the Boltons. And then right when you think they're going to lose it all, here comes the Vale in to save the day at just the right time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they got to have some dramatic TV stuff going on. So that's the way I see it going down, at least right now.
I think this is a pretty good one. Ellie Ames says, Q&A, what is Margaery's game? What do you think she's planning to do by playing the High Sparrow?
I think right now she's mainly worried about Loras and getting her family out of the situation. I don't think she gives a damn about Tommen anymore. I don't think she's necessarily worried about power anymore because she's not even making no babies right now, like he had that talk with her last episode. So I think right now it's just about, I'm going to play this game until Loras is free and my grandmother is back in Highgarden and everybody's safe and I'm getting the hell up out of here. I don't honestly know where it's going, other than the fact that she's doing it to save Loras, who's still in prison right now apparently. Who's still rotting in a cell while she gets to walk around. But she is not trusted, I don't believe, because we did see the Septa go with her to talk to Lady Olenna, the Queen of Thorns, when she passed her off the note with the rose on it, which is their house sigil, letting her know, hey, I'm still for the family. Get the hell out of town. So the High Sparrow, I'm not sure if he's quite buying her story quite yet, because otherwise, why have the Septa go listen to every conversation she's having? So I just see it right now as Marjorie's playing this game to save the family, and then once they're safe, if they ever get to that point, I kind of fear right now for the Queen of Thorns. She cut down Cersei pretty damn bad. And I thought you could see the hate in her eyes, like I said in that video this week. I thought Franken Mountain was going to go. I thought she was going to snap her fingers right then. So I don't know if she's going to make it out, because Cersei is now abandoned by everybody. I mean, her son's turned to the faith. Jaime's gone. She has nobody there. She was trying to legitimately reach out to her, I believe, like, hey, we have to work together, even though we hate each other. We got to work together because we have the same problem. And Lady Olenna wouldn't have none of it.
None of it.
She told her she was the worst person she ever met, and I don't know if she's gonna make it to Highgarden. So that may affect more what Margaery does right there.
I think you're right. Alex Jones says, how is it possible that nobody in King's Landing has said a single word about the fact that Tristan was murdered on his ship? They must have noticed that he never made it to the small council on which he was promised a seat.
They actually did mention that. Jamie did mention that the next episode. He said a quick little scene in there with the, I believe it was the small council, that the same women who murdered Tristan and Doran were still loose in the city. So they did mention it. It just didn't go anywhere after that.
Okay.
So as far as we know, the Sand Snakes are either still hiding out in King's Landing somewhere, or they hopped on the transporter, went back to Dorne. We just have no idea, and now Dorne is just a non-factor. So they've completely cut Dorne, apparently, from the show. I don't see them leaving the Sand Snakes plot hole there, where they just disappeared in King's Landing. I mean, we never saw them sail back to Dorne. I don't know what role they're going to play. I mean, they severely destroyed the whole Dorne storyline, which is huge in the books.
I really like this question. Stephen Brown says, for Q&A, what changes from the books to the show have you most enjoyed and hated? Where do you see Arya playing a part in the show when the end comes? Unlike Bran, there is not clear destiny with her, and like her wolf, she is running wild in the world alone.
Yeah, initially I thought of Arya, and I'm not quite sure I've changed my mind show-wise, but in the books, she has these wolf dreams all the time, even over in Essos, the whole warging thing we were talking about before. And it's hinted, and Melisandre actually told us we'll meet again in season 4, I believe, when she's with the Brotherhood without banners and still with Gendry and all those people. And Melisandre rides up, finds out about Thoros of Myr resurrecting Beric 6 times and says this is not possible. But then she meets Arya and looks into her eyes and says, I see a darkness in you. You're going to close many eyes forever, and we'll meet again. And rides off. So we know that's going to happen. Arya's endgame, I don't really know. Originally, George R. R. Martin had said that in his original manuscript, I believe, that at some point, once Jon finds out who he really is, that him and Arya would fall in love, and etc. So I don't necessarily see that going down, but going back to her direwolf named Nymeria, who was this warrior queen, she could end up being this queen that we never expected too, because throughout the whole thing she said, I don't want to be a lady, I don't want to be this, I want to learn how to sword fight, I'm a tomboy, all that kind of stuff. But she may very well end up being the Lady of House Stark. So it could be a big twist where she ends up finishing off her kill list and learning from all that and becoming this lady type of figure, but a conqueror / warrior as well.
No shit.
Not so much of the perfect, Sansa type of character who's never touched a sword and is just like the lady of the house. It's all proper and everything and knows how to curtsy right. So Anyway.
You want to touch on that? What changes from the books to the show have you most enjoyed and hated?
I did hate the Dorne stuff a little bit because it basically, to me, it was a good way for Dany to transition into Westeros with the storyline there, because the Dornish in the books, there's this possible big master plan going on about them supporting a Targaryen, whether that be Aegon in the books, who's apparently still alive. We call him Young Griff, who most people think is a Blackfire, but that's still an offshoot of the Targaryens. He's coming back to Westeros. He's already landed there in the books before Dany. And so that's another thing, big change they made, and they took out that whole entire storyline because they want to kind of simplify everything into Dany. So the Dornish thing, I would probably say the biggest thing I hated, because it would help, like I said, for the show at least, if you had Doran, who had an actual plan before he got shanked in his own yard, if he had this kind of master plan going on the whole time about, actually aligning with Dany coming over, it would help the show. It would help her connect with Westeros in some way. Maybe she'd already have contact with them and know what the hell is going on, so she can kind of start fitting into this side of the world.
Right.
So I hate that they cut that shit up like that. They just completely ruined it. And I think after people were disappointed in season 5 with the Sand Snakes, and then that quick little scene when Bronn and Jaime runs down there to rescue Marcella, and that was it, and then they got thrown in prison, I think they decided this year, you know what, let's just kill them all off.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I hated so far. Yeah, but as far as the changes that I do like, I mean, I pretty much like everything for the most part. There were some things that, obviously, like I said, that I was disappointed with. They cut a lot of the stuff down, but I understand that. I understand this is a Cliff Notes version of A Song of Ice and Fire. It has to be for TV. But at the same time, I enjoy seeing everything visually, because you're reading the books, everything's a mental picture.
Yeah.
And it's completely a different world. Everybody's described different, but seeing it played on screen, to me, is just cool. It's like, any movie, you read a comic, and then you see Spider-Man on screen.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's just something cool and exciting about that. So, I mean, I don't mind minor changes. I understand there's time limits, and damn, if you went through these books and had every storyline and plot and house and, scheming thing going on, this would take years and years and years and years. So, I mean, I just kind of keep it separate, if it makes sense as far as the show and the books. I understand this is a Cliff Notes, abridged version of A Song of Ice and Fire. So
I think that's a smart way to look at it. Otherwise, you'll get disappointed.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay, next question is from Patreon user Layla Gig.
Okay.
It says, question, do you think Theon foreshadowed his death when he said to Yara that if he got justice, his burned body would hang over the gates of Winterfell?
Possibly. We may have. He did say, he keeps harping on it, but of course he said this a couple times before too, that he believes he should be a dead man because he betrayed Robb and it led to all this shit. At the same time though, I think it also, in that scene, it kind of set him up to become Theon again, because she, right after he said that, she was like, fuck all that. I need to know if Theon's back. Drink the damn beer.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it was almost like, all right, that was kind of the last of Reek, apparently, because apparently chugging a beer, you get your balls back.
Yeah, definitely.
And
she knew it. She said, drink.
Yeah, so I think that was almost, so it could have been foreshadowed for sure. We'll just have to see how that plays out, and maybe he will sacrifice himself to help when they get back to to Westeros, because they're going to have to make a deal with Dany, and I think she'll take that deal, by the way, because she needs the ships, and that would be an ally already, right, in Westeros, and she needs them. But I think that was more to contrast Reek going away and Theon looking up saying, okay, I'm back, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
All right, next question. Philippine Pitcher says, Q&A, in Bran's visions, we saw the Mad Kings a lot. So a lot of people thought that Bran was responsible for Aerys's madness. But after watching the scene between the Queen of Thorns and Cersei, it's pretty clear to me the vision foreshadowed the Mad Queen Cersei. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it was definitely kind of an Easter egg for that. But the context of the scene was for Bran to get the information he needed as far as the tools and people he needs for this war. So in that sense, it was about this is available to you, this wildfire, that's an option, that's a tool for you to have.
Yeah.
We saw the Mad King there, and that's why I associate it with it could have been Bloodraven who went back and whispered in his ear over the years and kind of drove him insane. Now, he went crazy over a long period of time, and what really set him off was, I mentioned this last week, was the Duskendale incident. But in that context, it was all to me to let Bran see, here's what you need. You have dragons, you have wildfire, which maybe is a magical type of thing from the pyromancers, what they're saying. So it would probably have an effect that regular fire doesn't have. The White Walkers can walk through regular fire. They just use their ice mist or whatever, and it kind of just moves out of the way. Yeah. We've seen that several times now. So I don't think wildfire would have that same reaction. And I think it also kind of hinted at, because it wasn't in the context for Cersei anything happening in King's Landing other than it's there. So it could have thrown that out there to say, you know what, this is what's going to happen or could happen at King's Landing. But Bran's not concerned about King's Landing. He doesn't need to know the politics of King's Landing right now.
Okay.
All he needs from those visions are what does he need to stop the White Walkers. Because it doesn't matter what happens to King's Landing if he don't get that information.
If he doesn't, if they don't get stopped, it doesn't matter the politics.
Yeah, he don't care about Cersei or individual people or their little squabbles or even one castle burning. The whole realm's at risk. So I think for the context, it was all about the tools and people necessary to defeat him. But at the same time, I think Cersei's going to at least try that. I don't know if she succeeds. Maybe she burns a part of King's Landing, perhaps the Sept of Baelor, or just the Red Keep, or tries something and Jaime stops that. But you got these caches of wildfire there the Mad King hid all over the place, and just in case, and it never got used. So I don't see how it's not started up yet with all those damn, torches everywhere. All it takes is a damn spark, and that shit's gonna blow up like Blackwater Bay.
Okay, here's a pretty good one, I think. Brandon Shingleton says, what if Arya's original dance teacher saves her? Because I don't remember seeing him die. I just remember him telling her to leave because he's originally from there.
Yeah, Syrio Forel. So I believe they confirmed he died off screen, but people are now seeing this picture they released for episode 8 where the waif's standing there in the little archway and you see a figure behind her. But it does look like him as far as he had this nice little afro going on. Yeah. He was the first sword of Bravos, so that's where he's from. So people speculated that, this goes back to speculation that he was in fact Jaqen H'ghar, the Faceless Man, because Jaqen, everybody wants to know why was Jaqen in King's Landing in the first place in the Black Sails. He had to want to be captured in order to end up in the Black Sails, to end up being taken to the Night's Watch for what? So what mission was he on? Why was he there? So people have speculated that was actually him helping Arya get started in her training, but I think they did confirm that he did die off screen, because later we did see Meryn Trant come over to Bravos, and that's when Arya fucked him up by taking a face, killing him because he was on the list, and then she got punished for it by going blind. So we did see him later, and he's the one who apparently killed Syrio. So if it was Jaqen or Syrio was a Faceless Man, I don't think you'd ever seen Meryn Trant show up because he'd have been dead.
Next question.
Okay.
This is from Dust, Daily Useless Sports Trivia. That's me if y'all don't know that.
Okay.
Do you want to tell me what all this freaking chicken talk's about, or is that going to be a spoiler for me?
I don't know. Do you want me to tell you? I don't know.
Everybody loves it.
I'm
seeing all these chicken things.
I'm not going to tell you because you will love. Those are some of the best scenes in the show.
Okay.
So
Can we film my response at least when I'm here watching it? I want to see that scene and film it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because damn it, these people love the chicken comment you made.
Yes, it was some of the greatest memes on the internet when that happened, and there's a lot. So I'm not going to answer that question. I refuse.
Okay.
Because I want to see you live and in person watching those episodes.
Fair enough. Well, man, I think we've covered everything. I don't know if there was anything, with the Arya thing or the Hound. Was there anything that you didn't think we covered?
I think we covered it all. I mean, I guess I would just say...
Or Lady Stoneheart, or whatever.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that. I don't think she's coming back. I think it's too late. I think that was a nod to her because she does hang people. I think it's way too late for her to show up. I mean, it wouldn't be story-wise, but I mean, as far as time goes, they're unrealistic about times, but we know that, like, when you go to the Wall, right, there may only have been a week passed since the last episode, but when you go to Bravos, maybe a couple months have, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So I understand what they do with time, and that's why people have a question about how people can travel around Westeros so fast. But you got to realize it's the way they're doing it. It would never work if you had, you know, the same amount of time happen in each place. You can never get everything done. So I understand that, but I don't think she's coming back because she would have to be revived pretty quickly. I think now she's just rotten somewhere. I don't think she's even bones left. I think it's way too late for that. So I think it was a nod to her, but I don't see her coming back. There's been speculation for the last 3 or 4 years about her coming back. So I don't see that happening. I mean, it would be cool, but then again, they've got too many other people to take over that storyline as far as that character arc. So the Arya thing, I think I mentioned this before, but I think I went through this several times, and I went through I've looked at all the theories about the Fight Club and all that, but I've seen too many scenes where Jaqen was in the same room with both of them at the same time, looking at 2 different people. Yeah. You know, there was never anything but a couple scenes where you could question, wait a minute, maybe there wasn't anybody else there, you know, and stuff like that. So I don't buy into that. I think that's a little too over the top.
I think Arya was Arya.
I think Arya had to be Arya, and again, the only reason I say that is because there's no reason to show her as Arya if Jaqen, for example, is wearing Arya's face through a glamour, which can be done. They don't necessarily have to have her actual face. There's different levels.
I was wondering that.
Yeah, there's different levels of this, you know, magical stuff involved. Apparently, from the Faceless Men, there is glamours where they can use. But if he's doing that, why does he go and buy passage? Why does he throw bags of silver up on the table?
True.
Why is he walking through looking at the statue like, oh, I'm dreaming of going home? He would just be walking through, you know,
You're
like
exactly
it makes no sense why he's doing all the things that Arya would be doing. Yet at the same time, it doesn't make sense that she was hiding out in the dark with Needle, and then all of a sudden she's just walking through carefree. So something is up. Something is up, and it's just, I think we're going to see a little twist. I think it may be to either introduce somebody we hadn't seen in a while, maybe somebody new that will be important to the story when she gets back over to Westeros. Perhaps it introduces her again to the Red God. She's already seen the Red God people as far as the Brotherhood without banners, and she's seen Barrett come back to life, so she's seen that power, but maybe somebody helps her, and that kind of ties into the Azor Ahai, because you got now a Red God with Jon, or a Red Priestess with Jon, Melisandre. You have Kinvara and the other Red Priest and Priestess with Dany. So now maybe one's attached to Arya in some way, and she gets healed. So I don't really know what they're setting up. But I just don't see it being like the Waif or Jaqen taking one for the team. It makes no sense to me how that would work out. How can he test people with being basically in the show, the leader of the Faceless Men, who he's kind of taking the part of the kindly man in the books, and we don't really know who that is. That's the thing about it. You don't really know who anybody is. Are they wearing a face now? Is Jaqen's his natural face?
Yeah.
We don't know any of that. We don't know if the Waif's actual face looks like that. So we'll have to see the twist that comes next week if they answer the question at all. So, but other than that, I think we covered the major things. I believe, didn't we? So
now, forgive me for not knowing his name, but the guy from Deadwood, who was there with the Hound,
Ian McShane,
the guy who got hung.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only episode he's been in on this whole series.
Yeah, that was it. That was his cameo.
Wow.
Yeah. He had kind of spilled the beans a little bit between seasons that he was going to bring back a beloved character, and of course everybody already knew the Gravedigger theory.
Okay.
And I actually did a separate video a long time ago, an older one, on the Gravedigger theory, how it goes down in the books, why we believe that's the Hound. So he kind of said that, and everybody kind of knew right then who he was talking about. So
I mean, that's crazy. When he showed up, I thought, man, there's a little star power there. He's going to be around for a while. Nope.
Just to set up the Hound going back to violence.
Heck yeah. Well, man, thanks again for letting me be on here.
Oh,
I love
thank
it.
you.
I look forward to it every week.
These are fun to do.
And thanks for all your kind words to me, man. It means a lot to me, seriously.
All right, guys, so that will wrap it up for this week's episode Q&A. I will see you guys Sunday or Monday, probably, when I get that out, Monday or Tuesday, for the episode review for episode 8. Only 3 episodes left this entire damn season. And again, apparently they have confirmed that next season, season 7, is going to be short, and so that means season 8 will too. Apparently only got 13 episodes left of material, which is crazy to me again because it's going to be over before we know it, but at the same time they're making all these episodes short, so I don't understand what the hell they're doing. Alright guys, and as usual, thank you for all the support. A special shout out to all my patrons on Patreon, really appreciate it. So thank you guys for that. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.